What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Movie Battleground. We have another great match in store for you today. We have Mr. JD Domash taking on Papa West for you today. This was actually a winning thing for me. I won a bracket thing, and then I got to set up a match and write the match, and I had a lot of fun. The competitors may not love the questions. I'm not sure on that one, but we'll see how that one goes. Yeah, so we can go ahead and get into introducing these competitors for you, so we can get underway. First, we're going to introduce JD. He returns to the battleground, still looking for that first win after improved performance, but tough losses. So we're going to introduce first JD Domash. What's up,
Hello,
JD? How's it going,
Chad.
man? Okay. How are you today?
Oh, I was doing great, and then I remembered I had to do these questions.
Okay. Not a fan of the questions today, huh?
It's like 50-50. It's like a mixed bag. Like sometimes, there are a couple questions in there. They're like, "Ooh, that's interesting," but then there are other times. Again, sometimes you go into that mixed bag and you eat that little piece of candy, that mystery treat, and it doesn't taste so good. And at the end of the day, when you have more of those than ones that you like, gives you a little bit of sour feeling.
Hey, that's fair. You're not going to love every single question. Some questions are like from competitors' strengths. Some questions are written by the hosts, and it ends up being something you may not love. But I think good debate. You answer what you can, and just do anything you can to get those points. So, but how do you feel going up against Papa West today?
I mean, he has one more win than I have, so I mean, I'm gonna do my best. But Chad, I feel like you're rigging this against me. I have a feeling. I can't put my finger on it. And I thought we were getting so buddy buddy, all of a sudden. But then stuff like today, just
Well, I can assure you that definitely wasn't my intention to rig anything against anyone. I definitely wish you the best. I'm going to kick you into the back and introduce your opponent. All right, and so we're going to introduce second. Papa has seen a recent turnaround in performance with a good KO win and a blind round loss against Austin Howell, but he might want to come in and get some more wins. We don't really know with him anymore, so let's introduce him. Introducing second, Papa West. How's it going, Papa?
What's up? I'm here. I'm contractually obligated to anytime Mr. Cannoli, puts me up in a match. I'm contractually obligated to show up. I'm supposed to give some sort of effort, so I'm here. Chad, I don't know why you thought it'd be a good idea to put me up against JD Dumbass, but you did. The guy lost in a debate to a guy who said 5 words. So,
Well, it's because I like you both. That's why I thought it would be a really fun time. You're evenly kind of matched with records, and it could be fun. You guys are both very funny, so I'm interested to see how this matchup goes. But yeah, I mean, you're looking a lot better today. You don't have upside down glasses. Yeah, but I enjoyed your match against Austin, so I'm interested to see how you tackled JD today. How are you feeling about this matchup?
I learned very quickly that I do in fact need glasses to see. So, hey, this will be fun. No, we're not doing that. I actually do need to read a little bit today. So, while he's debating, I'm going to be reading from The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So I need to finish this book.
Oh, all
So
right.
thank you for giving me time to read.
No listening, no taking notes. Just hey, whatever works for you as a competitor. I wish you the best. Okay, and he's tuning me out. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and bring JD back into the stream, and we're gonna go over these rules. Now we're gonna go over the rules for the match. Okay, Movie Battleground is a best of 5 or first to 3 points wins. Each round of debate is worth 1 point. If one competitor earns the first 3 points in a row, that is a victory by KO. If it is a 2-2 draw at the end of 4 rounds, we go to the tiebreaker blind round. Each round of the match, competitors were given the questions ahead of the match and had time to prep their answers. The first stage of a question is the 60-second opening. The second stage of a question is a 2-minute expansion rebuttal period. The third stage of the question is the 4-minute open debate discussion. Sometimes this can get a little bit heated, but just try not to talk over each other. The fourth stage of the question is the 60-second closing. Then the 3 judges will be brought on screen, during which they will give their judgment of who won the round. I don't know who's going first on what question. Never mind. That's another thing I'm going to have to reading verbatim. So, no. So, yep, Aaron cut here. And Papa, was it you who's going first or JD?
I'm going first on 1 and 3.
1 and 3, okay.
Two.
All right, so it was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was decided before the match that Papa West is going first on questions 1 and 3, and JD is going first on questions 2 and 4. So we will go ahead and get into the first question. All right, so this one is not going to be a favorite of the competitors, I can tell. But, it is what it is. I kind of enjoy this franchise, and I know a lot of people don't, but I tried to go positive with it. We will see what they think about it now. So the first question is, what is the best film in the Twilight franchise? And so let me go ahead and add to the stream. Papa is going to start, and I'm going to reset your time. Whenever you begin speaking, so will your time.
I guess I will put away this amazing book just for a little bit. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. A good book. You know what's not a good book? Anything named Twilight. Twilight sucks. Stephanie Meyer tried to pick up on an adulting audience of the children who fell in love with Harry Potter. It didn't work. The books are garbage. The movies are garbage. What is the best film in the Twilight franchise? None of them. That is my answer. Oh, wait, you're going to be a little punk about it and not let me use that as an answer. Okay, let's go with 2008's Twilight. Boom, put it up on there. Twilight. It sucks. Not as much as the rest, though.
All right, I guess that's some seating of the time there. So we will go ahead and move it a little bit forward. All right, JD, as this time winds down, you can go ahead and start your 60-second opening whenever you begin speaking.
So I chose Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 as Twilight's best film. When you're adapting a book into a movie, you need to balance the source material while trying to make something that's entertaining to watch. I believe Breaking Dawn Part 2 does this better than any other Twilight film. The writing is finally working on all cylinders. They do something very interesting with the source material, which I'll get into in a moment. You finally have a quality director in Bill Condon, back from Part 1. He directed such films as Chicago, Dreamgirls, and Mr. Holmes, which I think is an underrated film, and he really knows how to build tension. Whether you are somebody that was made to go to these 5 movies, or you legitimately love these characters and source material, I think Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 has something for you. And I cede the rest of my time.
All right, giving up 4 seconds there, and pause the clock there. All right, so now Papa can go into his 2-minute expansion period when he begins speaking. I think you're muted, Papa.
I tried to touch the button 5 times and it never actually worked. So
Gotcha.
there's that. Go ahead and start my time, Chad.
Yep.
This is going to be more entertaining than Twilight. Me just sitting for 2 minutes. It's a bold strategy. I'm not actually going to do it. 15 seconds is good enough. Still a lot better than anything Twilight related. The whole series, you have this weird love triangle going on between Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, wow, and then Taylor Lautner. It's a really weird love triangle. You really never feel like any of them like each other. It's more of Taylor Lautner hates Robert Pattinson so much he doesn't want Bella to end up with him, and then Robert hates Taylor Lautner so much that he doesn't want Bella to end up. They don't really fall in love with each other. They're never seen as a good couple. It's almost as bad as Anakin and Padme in the prequel trilogy. The only time it's excusable is in Twilight. You have Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson first meet each other. It's the classic girl meets guy. Girl's mysterious, has thoughts about a guy. He's pretty mysterious, so she doesn't know what to think about him. So it makes sense that they have no actual chemistry. Whereas in Breaking Down Part 2, when they still have no chemistry, you've been with them for years. They're actually an actual couple still with no chemistry. That actually makes no sense. The CGI is decent in Twilight, and it gets worse and worse, even though CGI gets better as time goes on. That also makes no sense. The best part about Breaking Down Part 2 is a weird picture that came from backstage when Taylor Lautner's in a full green screen outfit, and Kristen Stewart's like petting him like a dog because he's apparently a werewolf. They're not werewolves. They're like big dire wolves. That's not what a werewolf is. You can say they stick to the source material. Source material actually kind of tries to build a fantastic battle, whereas Breaking Down Part 2, it's a pretty crappy battle.
All right, that's time. So now we're going to go into JD's 2-minute expansion. Time begins as he begins speaking.
So, I think, kind of hit on, the main difference, Papa West hit on the main difference between this film and the earlier films, which something I kind of disagree with that he said, which is that the first films didn't really do much to adapt the source material for the big screen, which may be great for book fans, but it's really tough for anyone else who wants to watch the stories. There's this, again, Twilight, there's just several scenes of them moping it down because previous filmmakers thought this was teen angst. I just feel like there's kind of like a kind of tone deafness of the earlier films. This film, that's all out of the way. Like, Bella, all the, romance stuff is out of the way. So, you really get into the characters. Like, I actually, for the first time, really cared about Bella and Edward, how they protect their child. They also do a really good job of building up the tension. That's another thing I disagree with Papa West, of building the tension between the Vittori and the Cullens. You really feel the danger and emotions of this looming conflict. They also do take something from the books that was not seen in Arro's vision, and they create this brilliant and horrifying final battle. There are several casualties. People get beheaded. They get cut in half. It's a brilliant tweak that honors the source material, while it gives fans of the books new context they didn't have before, while it gives something entertaining to watch. I think that kind of difference between the source material and the big screen representation is the difference between that and the first Twilight. I see the rest of my time.
All right. So now we're going to fast forward a little bit of the time. Trying to do, there, did it perfect. All right. So now the open debate discussion begins when anybody starts speaking.
JD, you hit the nail on the head. The first 3 books do a great job of adapting the story. They actually make the story from the books and put that on the screen. They don't add too much. There's a reason these books were successful. I don't know what it is because I got bored after halfway through the first one and decided not to read it. But I have a lot of friends who liked it for some reason. And a lot of people actually like, because you always hear, they left this part out of the book. I like that part in the book. They really brought most of the book into the first movie. They didn't adapt because they don't have to adapt. It's called world building, which the book did an okay job of it.
You kind of do have to adapt it though, because
Why?
it's very melodramatic, and there's really cheesy and kind of dumb dialogue. I'm a vampire, Bella. It's just like done very dry and very melodramatically. Again, all the stuff with like Jacob. Don't go to Edward, Jacob, but he's a bad boy. I'm like, why don't the with Twilight, it's like all this love triangle stuff that you see for the free movies. I have no idea why I'm watching this. Whereas, Twilight Breaking Dawn, that's gone. They're married now. That's all gone. And again, you said to yourself, the love triangle is the worst part, and that's not here. That's not in Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2. Again, you just have the conflict with the Victoria, which I actually think is the most interesting kind of things of the books.
I have no idea what's happening right now. That being said, your problem isn't bad writing, it's bad acting, which is all throughout the movies. The love triangle's not gone. Chad, just fucking stop. The love triangle is not gone. There's a reason the vampires and the werewolves are still fighting each other, because Jacob still wants Bella, that he cannot have Bella. It's called divorce, first off. Bella's not stuck with Edward by any sense of the imagination. And then one thing Breaking Dawn also does really bad is that weird, ugly CGI baby.
I want to stop you right there. That's Breaking Dawn Part 1. So I did Breaking Dawn Part 2. So,
I know you did Breaking Dawn Part 2. Breaking Dawn Part 2 still has a weird ass CGI baby that looks awful, that takes you out of the movie.
The baby's not in that one, and it's like one. If it is, it's like one scene. It's mostly just the teenage daughter. It's a teenage daughter, 100%.
Baby's still in there. You still see the baby. Baby looks horrible, and not only that, Jacob wants to fuck the baby. Not only does he want to fuck the mom, he wants to have a relationship.
And most of that stuff is Part 1.
I don't think you're right on that, JD. Chad is definitely going to fact check because he's watched these movies. I just did a basic plot synopsis reading the books and also reading why people hate these movies. And I distinctly remember the baby being talked about in Breaking Down Part 2. Love Triangle is still there. You talk about this amazing battle. It's still a weird CGI mess. We've seen these fantastic battles in the Lord of the Rings franchise. We've seen them in the Wizarding World franchise, stuff that you can get computer-generated stuff to do amazing things. They do not do it here. Breaking Down Part 2 just looks like a weird CGI clusterfuck. Whereas in Twilight, yeah, you have these weird moments of dialogue. They're still growing in their relationship. Whenever you first meet a girl, you never dazzle her right then and there. It takes some time to build through your little awkward phases.
But it never, as you mentioned, it never works. Again, at least I take Breaking Dawn Part 2 where Breaking Dawn Part 2 where again all that is done. They're married again. Now they have a 4-year-old child, and it's all about protecting the child. Again, you're talking about you admitted yourself, these early films are bad. At least this one is enjoyable to watch, and you have a lot of interesting CGI. You have a lot of interesting CGI action.
It's not interesting. It looks bad. And if you would actually listen to me while I talk, I would say that their relationship is bad in all the films. It is excusable in the first one because they are growing together. Like I was about to say, whenever you first meet a girl, you're still in the little awkward phase. I realize you've never been with a girl, so you have no idea what I'm talking about. But you kind of have to build through these little awkward phases, and that's exactly what Twilight is. It never pays off, and that is not Twilight. That is kind of the Twilight franchise's fault, but not the first movie. All the movies are bad. Twilight isn't as bad as the other ones. It actually has some really good scenes, like when Edward saves Bella from the car and destroys it. That actually looks really cool. Nothing else in the entire franchise builds up to that moment.
All right, and that's time. So then we're going to go into Papa's closing. When he begins speaking, so will his time.
Okay, nothing ever lives up to that moment is a better way to rephrase exactly how I ended the 4-minute preform debate. That looks really good, whereas nothing else looks really good, especially that weird CGI battle, the CGI baby, regardless of what movie it's in. I'm pretty sure it's in Part 2. Chad, I cannot wait for you to correct me or tell us what movie it's actually in. Jacob's still just throughout the entire franchise, just I still want her, but I never actually think he wants her, especially in Breaking Dawn Part 2. You never really believe he wants her. One thing too, you can't really add too much outside of the book because that's when you have the fans like, they can't add it, they ruined this character. Whereas Twilight does a really good job of bringing most of the book stuff in. Like there's the one scene where they're playing baseball in the rain. Very cool scene in the book. Makes perfect sense of why they're doing it because the thunder hides the sound of them hitting the ball with the bats. And then the way they incorporated that into the actual movie, I thought worked pretty well. Nothing else.
All right, and that's time. All right, so we're going to go into JD's final minute when he begins speaking.
Again, I think the Twilight, it's like one, if the baby is in part 2, it's 1 or 2 scenes. I disagree. For the most part, it is a 4-year-old child, and again, I go back. That in the part 2, the triangle stuff is over. As a matter of fact, Jacob is away for most of the movie because he's trying to rally up troops, some werewolves to help fight the Vittori. So I just think this film ratchets up tension so well. I truly think that I care about. It gave me I truly, it made me care about the characters for once in the franchise, and that is why I chose Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2. I see the rest of my time.
All right, that was a great round, guys. Good job. I'm going to go ahead, remove everyone here, and I will add in the judges and myself to the stream. And but I am going to be third judge, so we can go ahead and start with Noah. Noah, take like 30 seconds. Tell us, who you thought won this and why.
I'm going to be picking JD because I feel like Papa was just talking about the weird triangle relationship and that Twilight is not as bad as the others and not saying it's the best. So,
all right. Yep. So let's go over to Ryan. Again, 30 seconds. Who'd you pick and why?
I'm actually going with Jacob on this one because he brought some more legit shots at Breaking Dawn Part 2, and JD slipping up on the whole thing over the baby, where Jacob had to correct him on those feels, definitely costed JD a couple of times. It cost JD some time that he could have used to really either speak more on his film or attack Jacob's choices. So I'm going for Jacob.
Interesting, because I was hoping not to have to judge in this one. I did forget to throw in the whole fact check thing that Papa really wanted. I don't know for certain, but
the baby is not in part 1 at all.
Sure,
she shows up in part 2, and JD is right. I mean, she does grow, but she's still a present figure.
Yeah, like Mackenzie Foy is playing Renesmee in the first movie, so she's just like a teenager or whatever in the second one. Hey,
no. The baby is born in the first one, so you do see a digital face, but then you see more exposure to it in part 2, and then we get Mackenzie Foy as the child.
Yeah. I'm in this one. I'm gonna have to go. I might have to go with JD on this one, just because I felt like his entire like intention for this question was to talk good about his film. I feel like he mentioned like the change in film and filmmaker helped the movie. He talked about the tension and like the big battle scenes were really great. I'm pretty sure he did have some like takedowns of the first one and like talking about the relationship, and even Papa had some takedowns of his own movie and the entire franchise, I think. So I don't think Papa gave me enough to really sway me over to his side, although I did like the point about the baseball scene because I think that scene's awesome too. He may have been lying, but anyways, so thank you, judges. We're gonna pop back out of here because it looks like I'll bring the players back on because it looks like we have, let me go ahead and change this score setting. There we go. All right. So now we have a point awarded. So now we're going to get into the second question here. And this question, let's see, is this is one that I wrote and I thought would be really interesting question to ask. And it is which comedic actor who has never done a sports comedy should be in one? And we got some really interesting answers here for this question. And JD is going to go first on this one. Let me bring the timer back in. I have to set this back up. All right, so JD, as soon as you start speaking, your time will start for your first intro minute.
All right. So the question is, again, which comedic actor, actor who hasn't done a comedy should? And I love sports, but, I struggle with why do I care about it so much and spend so much money on such a mundane thing, whether or not, it's a bunch of people hitting balls with bats or throwing a ball across the field as people tackle that person. It just makes, the 1% richer. I feel like that's a perfect avenue for a Ryan Reynolds sports-led comedy. I feel like his brand of snappy pop culture humor would be just perfect for a comedic comedy on sports. I cede the rest of my time.
All right, so we will, I'm just going to let this tick down. Papa, as soon as you begin speaking, it's over your time.
You know who's really good at comedies? You know who's really good at satire? You know who acts along with directs? That would be the legendary Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks, it has been a while since we have seen him do anything, and it's not because he's dead. He is still very much alive. It's because he kind of took a backseat to everything. He didn't actually retire. We should be seeing him come back to do History of the World Part 2. And then I think after that, Mr. Brooks is going to get right back in the limelight to do his fun parody comedic movies with a new football movie that is just simply titled Coach Brooks. Why do I want to see this? Because I think it'll be hilarious. Why does the world need to see this? Because let's be honest, sports movies and sports comedies are pretty cookie cutter. Who's going to break that cookie cutter? Mel Brooks. Why? I'll tell you why in 2 minutes.
All right. Very good. All right. So JD, you can start on your 2-minute expansion. Your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Free Guy was the film that proved to me that Ryan Reynolds' brand of humor would work in a sports movie. I was deeply concerned with that movie that it would just make fun of video games. But instead, it's just a passionate love letter to video games and why we love, video games. I think that you can do a very similar kind of thing with sports. You could go cynical with the humor, but I think sentimental is the route to go, because the reason we love sports is because of the sense of the community it provides. And you can do that with the most mundane thing imaginable. In this case, I'm doing curling. Here's my pitch. Ryan Reynolds used to play a burnt out executive of a well-known league, we'll say NFL in this case. This character's kind of a mix of Adam, his older Adam from the Adam Project, and Guy from Free Guy. He's just burnt out, and he forgot the reason why he got into sports in the first place. Then he catches the Winter Olympics curling event by mistake. He's fixed by this passion these competitors have for pushing a giant-sized puck with brooms, and decides to take the money he has to start a yearly curling league. And the rest of the film is all about the first year of starting that competitive league and how passion will ultimately win the day. I really think that, like, I could just imagine a scene where Ryan Reynolds is on board trying to get potential sponsors for this, and he's like, he's talking about the passion of curling, and he's like, and then things are like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, oh, great. Oh, shit. Yeah.
All right, that's time. So now we're going to have Papa start his 2 minutes. His time begins when he begins speaking.
JD, my great granduncle, who was a Canadian curler on the Olympics team, just rolled over into his grave after hearing you try to explain curling. It's not a puck. It is a big round stone. You do not push it with a broom. Somebody pushes it, and then you sweep the ice in front of the puck. Learn curling before you try to talk to it. That being said, we've seen these movies before. Ragtag group of team, nobody believes in. Hires a coach, has a star player, whatever it is, and then defies all odds and wins the championship. We've seen it happen hundreds, if not thousands of times. So Mel Brooks, the great, taking these tropes and turning them around onto their head, is going to do something great. What I simply called, I believe I called it Coach Brooks. I don't know if I gave it a title. High school football team has not won a single game in 3 years. School district is about to cut funding. They're like, we need something. Just we get word that a star football player who was in the NFL just moves back to town. Kids are like, that's perfect. We're going to get this guy. He's going to be our coach. We're going to win, and we're going to save our football team. They find out where this guy lives, opens the door, knock on the door. We open it to find Mel Brooks, 98-year-old bank teller who has the same name as the former NFL star. But due to the confusion, the kids think he's lying to them. They try to get him to coach the team. He says no. He keeps saying no. Families start coming to his house. Please coach our team. We need you. He says no. He doesn't know football. He's a banker. Finally, after all these people are just annoying him, fine. I'll do the team. We'll coach. And then it all goes downhill from there.
All right, and that's time. So now, I believe we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion when anyone begins speaking.
So, JD, I just want to finish. The reason why it goes downhill from there, Mel Brooks has no idea what he's doing with football. We see every game he tries to do something. The team just cannot comprehend it because it's not actually football. And it's just that comedic satire that makes this work. I think you're doing Cool Runnings, which happened, except you're going instead of track to bobsled, you're going football to curling, and you did not explain curling that well anyway.
I was just doing a brief concept, the general idea of what curling is, and I was being slightly comedic about how I was describing it. Maybe you didn't notice the comedic kind of undertones. I'm sorry about that. And your curling ancestors, whatever they are. That being said, my film is not Cool Runnings. Again, Cool Runnings is about a Jamaican team for the Olympics. Mine is about a former exec who tries to start his own league. They're two entirely different concepts. And again, just a satire on how the pitfalls of starting a league. That being said, the issue with yours is there are a couple problems with yours. Number one, with Mel Brooks, I want to correct you with one thing that you said about History of the World Part 2. He's not actually acting in that. He's only producing it. Number one. Number two, he's 96 years old. He just turned 96 years old. And his mobility is not what it used to be. There's an appearance in Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee where he is using a cane to walk around. Again, I'm not poo-pooing people with canes. I'm just saying his mobility is not what it used to be. And when Mel Brooks, again, where his name can still sell, still sell projects with his, producing and, writing, why would you want Mel Brooks, the national treasure, to hurt, potentially put himself at risk when, he still makes money just by, can make money by mentoring other people?
Okay, so I'm doing this to you. See, that would add to the comedy. You have him walk around in his cane. First off, film sets are safe, except for this one weird Alec Baldwin story. Most of the time, film sets are safe. He's not going to hurt himself too bad. But it'd be funny just seeing him walk around in a cane. Everyone's like, that must have been when he got tackled in the Super Bowl when he was doing that 60-yard run to win the game and blew out his hip and why he doesn't play anymore. Boom, you're explaining it right then and there. When actually, no, he's a 97-year-old man who just has to use a cane. It would be funny because of that. And you know what would be hilarious too? We get down right to the end of the movie. They're in the final game, their last chance to win it all. Mel Brooks has finally grown to start loving this team, but they still cannot win. So he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And he puts on a helmet. You see this 97-year-old man get out on the field, get the ball as the quarterback, start hobbling towards the end zone. And then this linebacker just destroys
I
the
don't want
crap
to
out of
see
him.
that.
And that's how it ends.
Awful. That
Well,
is
it's
awful.
called slapstick comedy. It's one of the best known comedy tropes out there. I realize it doesn't work for you, but it works for 98% of Americans.
I don't think it works in this current climate.
As
Go
far
ahead.
As far as Ryan Reynolds
I
goes,
wanna-
no, I need to say one more thing. I gave you the finger, so shut up. Ryan Reynolds, I don't really need to see him do much more. I want to see him do superhero stuff with Deadpool. I want to see how they get that into the MCU. I don't need to see a Ryan Reynolds sports.
All right, and that is time. All right, don't worry about that, JD, because you can go ahead and start your minute when you begin speaking. So, your time.
I guess my point is this. Mel Brooks is a filmmaker first. There are only 5 times where when he hasn't been at the creative level, did he act in somebody else's movie. Again, this is what the question is. Who can act? It's not the filmmaker, it's what actor. I would be right with you if this was what filmmaking guy Mel Brooks this would be. I guess to me, I think Ryan Reynolds needs to be in a sports movie because I think his brand of humor, the pitfalls of starting the sports league and his meta brand of humor about, why to start a sports league, I think that lends itself really well to comedy. Like I imagined the scene where he's talking to a bunch of investors to try to get, funding for this league. And he's talking about this passion. And all of a sudden they're like, yeah, but where are you going to fit it on schedule? Oh, shit. Yeah.
All right. So now we will go to Papa's final minute when he begins speaking.
Okay. I guess I love that you're trying to bring curling to the mainstream audience because not a lot of people know it. Ryan Reynolds, people know him, so maybe, but that's not why we should see a Ryan Reynolds comedy. That's why we should see a curling comedy with Ryan Reynolds. Really, I mean, you can get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to do this exact same movie, and it works just as well. So you're trying to say because Mel Brooks hardly ever acts in movies he's not directing or producing, and we're not going to see it. Well, you just said we've seen it 5 times. Why can't we see it a 6th? What if Mel Brooks wants to be known for more than just directing and producing? Why can't he be like, I have one more acting performance in me? Because he's a very good actor. He could actually help lead, which he did in History of the World Part 1. He hasn't really led a movie since. Why can't he? He can. He can show, hey, I'm a 97-year-old man. I still have it in me. Most old people still have it in them. And that is why Mel Brooks should star in a sports comedy called Coach Brooks.
All right, that was a great round, guys. Great job. I'm going to take you out. I'm going to bring in. Oh no. There we go. I'm going to bring in myself and the other judges. You can bring me down. Swap these guys. All right, this time we're going to start with Ryan. And we're going to see 30 seconds. Who'd you think won this and why?
Okay, this one was a little difficult. I think I'm going to bring my decision down to the pitch. And I think the one person that had me at least sold on the pitch was Jacob, because in his pitch he did bring out, he set it up. He had a good setup and a good little plot going into it, and then he did some good counters with the whole issue of JD bringing Mel Brooks in there. So Jacob gets my vote.
All right, so now we're going
Jacob,
to move
yeah,
over to Noah, and Noah, 30 seconds. Who'd you pick and why?
I also went with Jacob just to make it easy on you, Chad. No, I'm just kidding. Not just to make it easy on you, but because I really do believe that Jacob won that round. JD's pitch literally just felt like any other Ryan Reynolds movie, and he literally said it's a combination of Ryan Reynolds characters. So I just kind of like that pushed me to Jacob a little bit more, but also Jacob dropped a bomb saying like, hey, like even Dwayne the Rock Johnson could do this. Like, why does Ryan Reynolds have to be in this role? And he was able to explain, oh, he doesn't. And just like Ryan, I feel like Jacob's pitch was a lot better. I was really interested to maybe watch that that little humor bit about Mel Brooks putting on the football helmet and getting destroyed. Like really made me chuckle. So Jacob gets my point.
All right, great. Even though I'm not voting, I will say I also thought that was really, really funny. But I also like that JD wanted to make a curling movie because I don't think anyone's really done that, and I kind of want to see that though. But yeah, so we're gonna thank you, judges. We're gonna remove you guys. We're gonna bring in our competitors again, and it is tied up. So now we're gonna go into the third question here. Let me go ahead and drop me out, and I will go ahead and ask it. This is so we recently got a new film in this franchise. We got Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Dominion came out, and kind of a mixed bag there, I think, with reviews and whatnot. But it's still a classic franchise, and a lot of people really dig this one. So let's go ahead and ask this question. And it is, what is the most underrated film in the Jurassic Park franchise? So I believe, we're back to Papa on this one to go first. And so bring up that clock. Let me rewind that clock. And then time will begin for you when you begin speaking.
Yes, Chad, there's a reason we have not seen any curling movies recently or at all. There is a reason. Even with a great granduncle who was on the Canadian Olympic team, there's a reason we haven't seen curling, because curling is not a great movie, or not a great movie concept, not even a great sport. But that being said, we are not talking about curling. We're talking about the most underrated Jurassic Park film. And I am simply going to say 2001's Jurassic Park 3, most underrated of all the Jurassic Park films. I have no idea where my...
So, for most underrated Jurassic Park movie, I chose the Lost World Jurassic Park. When I mention Lost World to people, they say, oh yeah, that's the ones with the dinosaurs in San Diego, but he can't tell you anything else, and I can't understand for the heck of the reason why. Lost World represents a shift in the franchise and what the franchise ultimately came, like these horror action hybrids. The three Jurassic World movies in particular share a lot of DNA with the Lost World Jurassic Park. Yes, the third act is bonkers, but it is also one of the most terrifying, and I actually think it is the most terrifying in the franchise, and it's the best acted besides Jurassic Park. I cede the rest of my time.
All right, we got a seating of the time there. We're just going to let that clock tick down a little bit, and then here we go. So, Papa, your 2 minutes will start when you begin speaking.
JD, I love how whenever you ask people their thoughts on Jurassic Park 2, they forget. Because if you ask any movie fans, especially any Jurassic Park fans, they know exactly what this movie is. People like this one. They say it's the second best, maybe third best. I have it intermixed between Jurassic World But most people remember this movie, and the one downside to it is that weird janky ass third act where you actually have the dinosaurs in San Diego, which was a great concept. I don't know why they didn't get it to work. Granted, having the raptors and the T-Rex attacking the people on the boat would have been pretty cool to watch. You say that this was a twist to going into a more horror theme. We never saw Jurassic Park do horror after this. So no, they tried. It should have worked. I don't know why they didn't keep doing it. That being said, Jurassic Park 3, most people widely say it's the worst one. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the one that came out a while ago, is the only one people hate just as much, and I don't know why. This tries to do the magic of Jurassic Park, tries to bring us back into the park, and I thought it did a really good job of it. You get to see these dinosaurs in their full beauty again. We even are introduced to a couple new dinosaurs. You have the pterodactyls. We know our dinosaurs. We've seen them before, but this introduced a lot of kids to the Spinosaurus, a T-Rex with long arms and a weird spine thing on its back. And it actually scared a lot of kids to where they couldn't have a ringtone on their phone anymore, because if anyone's ringtone goes do 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 do, everyone instantly clicks back to that's the ringtone from the dad who lost his phone. That means the Spinosaurus is there. It triggered that memory of that movie. It's a lot better than people remember it for.
All right, that is time. And so now we will go to JD's expansion period when he begins speaking.
So in our movie sphere, yes, the Lost World Jurassic Park is known. And amongst Jurassic Park fans, it is known. But amongst the general public, all they ever say is, whoa, that's the one with San Diego. Just wanted to clarify that in case that was clear to Papa West. As I mentioned before, you can trace a lot of the DNA from the most recent Jurassic World trilogy to this film. The difference between the Lost World Jurassic Park and the Jurassic World trilogy is all of this was done for story and character purpose. I feel like story was secondary to the Jurassic World trilogy a lot of the time. That being said, no one talks about how this film takes the ramifications of the first film and uses it as a launching off point for Ian Malcolm. He's dealing with trauma that has negatively affected his relationships with R. Kelly and his girlfriend, Sarah, played by the great Julianne Moore, before we really knew who Julianne Moore really was and really broke out. And again, the only way to move forward is for him to face the dinosaurs again. When he hears his girlfriend goes to Site B, it's not even a second thought. He's just going there. I think that's an amazing piece of that character of Ian Malcolm. Again, also, no one really talks about, again, in my opinion, this is the most terrifying film in the franchise. For 2/3 of the film, Ian and Hammond's nephew's group get picked apart one by one. Ian doesn't even get 2 minutes with his girlfriend before they get attacked by a Triceratops. I didn't even mention the sequence where a full field of velociraptors are just hunting people who walk by. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
And that's time. All right. So now we're going to get into the 4-minute open debate when anyone begins speaking.
I'm going to start this one. So the reason why Jurassic Park 3 is properly rated is because, fun fact, they chopped off half of the script as they started production. So half of this script is gone, and a lot of the bridges that half of that script had is just completely missing. There was a whole A plot where the dinosaurs were going to be on the mainland, and they just cut that out because Ian Grant didn't want, Sam Neill didn't want to, they're simultaneous to me. He didn't want, the only way Sam Neill would come back is that if they cut out of that script, which I'll let you respond to that part, Papa West, but I have something else to add to that.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me a second to respond. Reason that part was cut out is because they realized without that was just added stuff that was not needed. With the story that is there, we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Beginning, this kid is on a birthday trip, ends up getting stuck on this island full of dinosaurs. We have the middle part, the parents doing everything they can to find their kids. You have this story of love that's maybe is in the lost world, not that much. Getting to the island, trying to save him, and then them finding him and getting off the island. Boom, 3 acts right there, full story. You didn't need to have the dinosaurs on the mainland, and they realized that wouldn't make the movie better. That would have made it way too long and made it the worst.
So here's where I disagree with you. So number one, so I don't hear you mentioning Billy, because that to me, that A plot had a lot of bridges that were going to bridge the A plot and the B plot together. And when you took that away, there were a lot of gaps that needed to be filled. Like, for example, again, the character of Billy to me feels like a whole corporate thing, a whole like studio note. Oh, the Jurassic Park movies should have corporate espionage portions of it. So why don't we, have the corporate espionage? Why make Billy have this corporate espionage part? Billy's character, the things that he does, is completely kind of secondary to, like, you didn't need him to steal those eggs in order for the plot to happen. Those were things that they just added because the corporate and espionage stuff was cut out. So I disagree with you that A plot wasn't needed. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, corporate espionage. He doesn't do it for a business. He does it for himself. He does it to get fame. That helps build to Billy's character. Yes, I'm sorry. In the couple seconds you've given me to talk about this movie, I haven't talked about one of the secondary characters. Oh, do you also want me to talk about the hitmen that they bring on the island with them too, that die right at the beginning? I don't need to, because it's not that they're not needed. They're secondary characters. Why do people not talk about the lawyer in Jurassic Park? He's there. It doesn't matter. Billy's there. It does not matter. He does have a great arc. Whenever they're in the pterodactyl cage, he sacrifices himself to save Eric. You have a great story right there. The Lost World Jurassic Park, yes, you have an amazing scene with the raptors in the grass, which I don't know why people don't talk about it, because the people I talk to talk about that scene a lot. It's the second best Jurassic Park movie. I don't know why you say it's underrated. It's not.
All right, and that is time. All right, so we're going to go back to Papa for his 60-second closing when he begins speaking.
Okay, JD, the question is, what is the most underrated movie? Not which of these two is better. Yes, I will say The Lost World Jurassic Park is better than Jurassic Park 3. There's no argument there. What I'm saying is Jurassic Park 3 is not the worst movie ever that a lot of people say it is. I think it's right underneath The Lost World Jurassic Park. I think you have a great trilogy right there of 3 separate stories that people are not talking about like they should, because they do not like Jurassic Park 3. Why? I don't know. Dr. Grant is still scarred from his first trip, that he has to get tricked into going there. That's a great trick right there by parents who would do anything, offering all this money when in fact the dad's just a hardware salesman and has no money. You have these amazing dinosaurs, which people don't talk about. You don't talk about the Spinosaurus. I don't know why. Jurassic Park 3, really good movie that people do not talk about like they should. The Lost World Jurassic Park, people talk about it. People talk about certain scenes that are great because it is a great movie. Not the best, but good.
And that's time. All right, so now, JD, your last final minute will begin when you begin speaking.
So I want to hit back at something. Yes, again, amongst our space, the Jurassic Park is talked about as probably the second best film. If you ask my parents, if you ask my friends who are just casual people who go to the movies, they don't talk about it. They'll talk about Jurassic Park. They'll talk about Jurassic World. They'll talk about Fallen Kingdom. They'll talk about Dominion before they even get to the Lost World Jurassic Park. And I think I generally, I think my previous argument talks about lying. Papa, you even admitted that, yes, this is a brilliant movie. And again, I don't see anyone talking about it. And it just boggles my mind because it is the most terrifying movie of the franchise. And it has a kaiju act for the third act that is completely bonkers. And I love this film to death. And yes, I think it's underrated.
All right, and that's times now. Great job, guys. We're going to go ahead and take you guys out and bring in our judges, including me if I'm needed. But we're going to go back to Noah to begin. So Noah, I'm in 30 seconds. Who won it for you and why?
I'm not being very. I'm not drawing this out longer than I have to this round, I guess. But I'm putting in Papa as the winner for this round. JD was just trying to say, "Oh, no one talks about this movie," without backing it up. Just saying, "Oh, no one talks about it," doesn't really convince me that what you're saying is right. Papa was able to convince me that his movie is underrated, and it's not the best movie in the world, but it deserves to be looked at more. Really worked with me, and just like the return to the kind of the park-esque kind of setting, that argument kind of worked for me as well. So I'm going to go Papa.
All right, so now we're going to go over to Ryan to see what he thought, who he voted for, and why in around 30 seconds.
This was a very good back and forth between JD and Jacob, but once again, I don't know what it is, but Jacob once again got my vote. Now, I'm not saying that JD wasn't really bringing the argument forward, but kind of mirror everything Noah said. It seemed the crux of JD's argument was no one's talking about this film. And Jacob, as much as he was bringing some subjective opinions into talking about Jurassic Park 3, he was also being objective as well, talking about a few other things about the film that people didn't recognize. And he did counter back very well on some stuff that was cut out from that film, which in retrospect, it would have actually hurt his argument more. But he was able to bounce back from that. And I think, that's pretty much it. Yeah, Jacob was doing a balance of objective and being subjective for his, while JD felt it was more subjective instead of bringing in like some outside opinion from sources or from like other places.
All right, great. Great judging there. We're going to take those judges out. Thank you very much, judges. Bring back in our competitors and stop. There we go. Drop me out. All right, so now we're going to go on to the fourth question. We have a 2-1 score, but it's still anyone's game. Question number 4. If people know me, I'm a pretty big horror fan. I also really like comedies. Hey, when they put the two together, I usually have a very good time. What is the best horror comedy ever made? I know I have some of my favorites. Let's see what these guys think. We're going to go to, I believe, JD with this one to begin. And the clock will start when you begin speaking, JD, on your intro.
So I chose Happy Death Day as best horror comedy. It has a surprisingly simple but twisted premise. A sorority girl gets murdered on her birthday, but ends up getting trapped in a time loop. It's Groundhog Day as a horror movie, but it's very inventive at how it uses its kills for comedy. And the other thing I really love of it is its gaping heart. Tree to me could be very easily in most movies would just be the bitchy sorority girl, but she is a very fascinating and heartfelt character, which I'll get into more in a bit. I see the rest of my time.
All right, ceding some 18 seconds there, but no worries. We are going to speed that up a little bit. And Papa, when you begin speaking, your time will begin.
In 2011, Eli Craig directed a movie that was a fantastic horror comedy. Pretty much took these slasher horror tropes and turned it on its head. Kind of something like Mel Brooks would do. Is Eli correct? The next Mel Brooks? I hope so. Let's see. This movie that I'm talking about is, of course, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Fantastic movie. You have Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk playing the titular Tucker and Dale. One great thing, Alan Tudyk, amazing actor. And I think he really shines as the secondary character, letting Tyler Labine take most of the reins on this movie, being just this lovable hillbilly guy. You have these, I believe, 4 campers who are judging these hillbillies, thinking that they're going to try to kill them. And actually, no, they have a summer home. They want to live their life, and all craziness ensues later on. I'd explain it, but I can't do it in 3 seconds. I'm good. I'm not that good.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's that good, Papa, but we were going to go to JD for his 2-minute expansion when he begins speaking.
As I said before, it's Happy Death Day is basically Groundhog Day is a horror movie. Jessica Rothe plays Tree. She seems like the bitchy sorority girl that dies partway through a slasher film. What's surprising about Happy Death Day is how it uses this twisted premise to tell an unexpected story about how crippling, numbing grief can destroy you if you don't take care of it. For a horror comedy, this is shocking emotion, which I think adds to its greatness. As we peel back the layers of Tree, we realize she's still grieving over the death of her mother, who was this huge influence on her, and they share a birthday together. And her so-called sorority bitchness is a way to cover up the numbness that she feels. As somebody who's lost a huge family member who was an influence on them, I know this is numbing. I relate to Tree in a way no horror comedy ever I have before. All I wanted to do is for Tree to pick up her dad's call and just talk to him. Despite this, it's still a horror comedy. She has an unlimited amount of lives, so she has an unlimited amount of chances to find her murderer. This leads to several comedic deaths. She finds one of the suspects that she thinks may murdered her watching porn before getting killed, and then when she spends all her day in her birthday suit. Also, there's also this great trope where her love interest Randy is giving her terrible advice, but the next day and she keeps on complaining about it, but he doesn't remember. Again, I think this comedy and emotion just make this average fair.
And that's time. All right, great job, JD. So now we're going to go over to Papa for his 2 minutes when he begins speaking.
JD, you said it twice and I'm already over it. Happy Death Day is pretty much Groundhog Day, but a horror movie. Yes, in fact, they say it at the end of the movie too, when her new boyfriend, they're having dinner and he's like, your movie, your situation sounds like a movie I watched, Groundhog Day, and they try to play it off of, I've actually never heard of that. I don't know who Bill Murray is. You had so many choices as far as great horror comedy goes. The Babysitter, Cabin in the Woods. Heck, Happy Death Day to You is a better comedy horror movie than Happy Death Day. I'm really surprised that you picked Happy Death Day because it's an okay movie. It's not great, and it's not really that much of a horror comedy. You talk about comedic effects to the deaths. There's really not a lot of funny deaths. Happy Death Day to You, that's when they start adding the comedic. When she's killing herself, she jumps into the wood chipper. Hey, that's an homage to Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Jumps out of the plane, lands right in front of her 2 friends, gives the fingers. That's comedy. Happy Death Day, not really much comedic elements right there. I also don't really understand why most people think she's a bitch. It starts off, she wakes up, has a one-night stand with a guy. A lot of people have one-night stands. Doesn't make them a bitch. When she's doing the walk of shame, she doesn't sign any of those petitions to join these things. Guess what? When I'm walking down the mall and all these kiosk people wanting to talk to me and I ignore them, does that make me a bitch? No. She's really never like this evil person that she's drawn out to be. Your twist that her roommate is the killer, you can tell that within the first 30 minutes of the movie when she, her best friend, or when her roommates all like, "Oh, you're such a great person. You're such a great person." She's a fucking bitch. Literally what she says, and then you never see her again. You can kind of tell, hey, that's a little weird. So you can tell the ending before it actually happens. Yeah, that's a great
And
movie.
that's time. All right. So the question of the round so far is Papa a bitch? Maybe we'll find out in the open minute debate here. Your time will begin when anyone starts speaking.
So I'm gonna argue back a couple things. First. One thing first. The deaths is a trope from both movies. So I don't think that's necessary. Again, you're saying the death one is more in the second one. They're in both. That's tomato. But go ahead.
Okay, what death in the first movie is funny? You talked about when she finds one of the supposed killers watching porn. That's not funny. That's weird. Kind of when I believe it's that second death when she's about to sleep with that other dude and then the baby comes out. That has some moments, but really, I mean, just everything else is an unexpected death. Not funny, just death-wise. Whereas Tucker and Dale versus Evil, you have these college kids who are killing themselves in unexpected ways. Like the one runs into the wood chip, or one runs into the tree limb sticking out. You have the sheriff who knocks over the ceiling tile. All those are hilarious, especially with the sheriff, because he's still alive for a while and they're trying to make it better. You have these two hillbillies that don't really know what's going on, trying to explain everything, and that's where the comedy is. There's not much comedy in your movie.
I disagree. Again, I think there's another death where she's dressed up as in military garb, and then she kills somebody that she thinks is the suspect, and then it turns out that wasn't the suspect, and then she dies. Again, there are several deaths like that. Spends all her day in a birthday suit, and then she gets killed.
You hardly ever see that. That's just a little quick in a whole montage thing.
But again,
not funny.
I think you're telling me why didn't I choose Happy Death Day 2? I think Happy Death Day 2, there's a lot of the twists in that one I have a lot of questions with, and I don't think it all holds up correctly.
Okay, but it's a much better horror comedy than Happy Death Day.
That's your opinion. I think the combination of emotion and horror actually makes Happy Death Day a superior movie to Happy Death Day to You. I think the fact that I think Happy Death Day to You goes too much into the comedy, and it misses the heart that I think this first movie has. And so to me, that's why I like Happy Death Day more. And so again, I don't. Is that I disagree that it's not a comedy. It definitely is.
Well, I'm not saying it's not a comedy because you were able to answer and they accept it as an answer. I'm just saying it's not a great comedy.
And I think it is because of the
comedies out there.
Again,
I'm giving you specific reasons as to why your movie's not that funny. Whereas Tucker and Dale versus Evil, you have all these unsuspected things happening, so it is a comedy. Also, whenever Tucker and the bad guy are in the shed, that is some scary stuff. You have all these saws starting to run. That is great horror right there. You have where the guy's talking about the hillbilly massacre. That gore scene, that horror right there, great horror. Tucker and Dale versus Evil does a great job of horror. It does a great job of comedy. It brings them together for a great horror comedy. I'm not gonna lie, Happy Death Day is an okay movie. It does a really good job being a slasher movie. It's comedy. There's not much there. I'm not saying it's not a good movie. It is a good movie, but it is not a great horror comedy. And you talked about one scene where she kills the guy she thinks is the killer and dies. That's funny. I don't see where that's funny.
And that's time. All right. So now we're going to go into closings. I believe we're back up with JD on this one. Yes. So JD, time will start when you begin speaking on your closing.
So my problem with Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't interrupted when I said this because I don't want my comment being misconstrued, is that I think that it doesn't hold up. Tucker and Dale are very specific archetypes, and I think in our current climate, I watched it for the first time for this debate. I didn't think that was funny. I thought Tucker and Dale trying to make the people that you see on Fox News smart and intelligent. It just sat the wrong way with me with all the things that are going on in the world right now. As opposed to, again, and with Happy Death Day, I think I've proven that the comedy actually works really well in Happy Death Day. And again, it is, yes, is it not as fun? Again, Happy Death Day to You leans more into the comedy, but it doesn't have the emotion, packed that Happy Death Day does. And to me, that's why it's the better horror comedy.
All right, and time, great job. Now let's go over to Papa for his closing. Time begins as he begins speaking.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil never tries to make right-wing people look smart. It tries to teach you not to judge people off of their looks. You have this whole community of kind of these backwoods hillbillies. You have Tucker and Dale, and then you have that whole city where these college kids are judging them. They're driving up and they're like, we're going to get killed or something. You have the kid bringing up the story of the Hillbilly Massacre. They're not trying to make right-wing people look stupid or look dumb. They're trying to teach you, hey, don't judge a book by its cover. Whenever the girl gets knocked out, Tucker and Dale save her because they are good people, regardless of what the college kids think. In fact, whenever she tries to tell her college friends, they're not bad people. Oh, you just have Stockholm syndrome because these are murderous hillbillies. Like they're not great people. It's judging people. It's not saying this is a bad group of people, the right wings, Fox News people. That's not what this is about. This is about hillbillies and college kids.
Time up. Great round, guys. We're going to drop you to the back and bring out the judges. All right. And I will serve as a third if needed. And we will begin with Ryan this time. 30 seconds. Who won it and why?
I will not waste time. There's only one thing that decided this was there was a lot of argument over JD's film, not enough on Jacob's film until it got to the closing where neither of them could debate this. So Jacob gets the point. Now, I understand JD wanted to bring up some points about Tucker and Dale when he wasn't interrupted, but he should have in the debate. That way, it would have directed the conversation and talk from his movie onto Tucker and Dale, where JD would have gotten more opening shots. But like I said, I'm getting too long. Jacob, he had his movie down. He took the conversation to where he can put a lot of pressure on JD to defend his film instead of attack.
All right. Very well said, Ryan. Let's move over to Noah for 30 seconds. Who'd you vote for and why?
Building tension. I'm going to say Jacob on this one as well, because he was able to say why his movie is the best horror comedy. The horror being a big part of it, but also like the comedy, like of the kills and everything. He was able to say, "Oh, Happy Death Day doesn't have any funny kills," and they would try to come back, but I really feel like JD didn't have any good argument against it. He didn't really have a comeback against that. And Jacob was able to counter a lot of JD's points, and JD wasn't able to prop up his film enough for me.
All right. Great job. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Ryan. And your winner, Papa West. Yay, Papa.
Yay. Does this mean I can get back to my book now? Because I was in the middle of reading it and then got rudely interrupted to have 4 different conversations about 4 different varieties of franchise genres. Yeah, that's a good way.
Sort of. Well, I mean, you did schedule to be in a match today, so I'm sorry to interrupt your book time. We'll get you back to your book pretty soon. But how do you feel about the win? Congrats, by the way.
Again, I'm just contractually obligated to be here. It's not my fault. My opponent makes really bad choices in life, and then uses that in some of his arguments. It's just, hey, you take what the good Lord gives, right? He
I
gave me
guess
a
so.
really bad sense of humor.
I guess so. Yeah. So let me read this little spiel I got here. At 2 and 3 with 1 KO, Jacob will most likely just miss out on the Battleground annual year-end tournament, but he'll have a number of players that are close within his record, including Noah McCausland, maybe Andy Sweet, maybe Malcolm Lay, and his former opponent, Austin Howell. Do you have someone that you prefer to play next?
Not Noah and not Pez, because I realize people are like, I lost to somebody. I need to turn that around and get redemption on them. That's not what I'm here for. Noah did a great job in beating me. Pez did a great job in beating me. Congrats. If it works out that we'll play again later, let's do it. I'm contractually obligated by Mr. Cannoli. I have to do it if he makes it. But Aaron, if you're listening to this, I don't care who you put me up against. You're going to put me up against somebody. I'm going to give as little effort as I have to.
All right, yeah. No revenge motive. I respect that. But yeah, hopefully the next person you play will be really fun because you're a fun guy. I always love seeing you debate. I loved your choices. I love that you picked Tucker and Dale versus Evil because that movie's hilarious. And I also always enjoy watching that one. Yeah, if you don't have any last words, then we'll go ahead and drop you out. Congrats again. And now we will bring in the second place finisher of the debate, JD Domash. How's it going, JD? How are you feeling right now? I don't think he's frozen. I think he's just, yeah, okay. We could just sit. It's fine. We could just sit for a while
That works for me.
and, just contemplate on everything that happened in the match. You got 1 point there, JD.
It's a point because he didn't care about it. I knew that. I knew that one was a given, and then I just.
Where do you think like you might have gone wrong in the other ones?
The Jurassic Park one, I really don't think I went wrong with.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was a gettable point. And if I had different judges, I probably would have gotten that point. It's just I think that one was a matter of the judges, which then I would be 2-2, and we would be going to a blind round. I think that one tactically, I thought I was perfect.
Definitely sorry for your loss. But yeah. So, but good job otherwise. We're going to go ahead and kick JD out and in this broadcast. So yeah. So general thank you to the judges and the competitors. Great job to Papa West on his win. Yeah. So we're going to like and subscribe that channel, aren't we? Because that is how we get people to watch and make more of these things, because this is a fun time. I enjoy hosting, judging, competing in here. It's a lot of fun watching these matches. A lot of really great people bringing some fun opinions up in here. But yeah, let me introduce some of those other matches. On Saturday, the last match of round 2 of the Summer Invitational takes place. It's a war between friends as Joe Farrelly takes on Amaru Moses. Oh, wow. Okay. That's going to be a fun one, I can tell. And on Sunday, we have Alejandro Hernandez taking on Andy Sweet, with the winner positioning themselves in a great position to enter the 2022 tournament. Oh, man, the stakes are real there. So let's see who wins on that one. That should be a fun one. But yeah, that's basically all I have. This was a really fun match. A lot of good questions, a lot of good answers. Jay did a great job, and then Papa West came out with the wins. Fun time. I enjoyed hosting. Thank you very much. Remember, like and subscribe, and yeah, thank you.